So hello, welcome to the talk today. Nice to see you nice. Yeah. And so the title of the talk today is called Stop Thinking and End All Your Problems, How Non-Duality Can Save Lives. Yeah. Quite a dramatic title. Yeah, so before I begin, I'm just going to give my usual disclaimer and introduction to non-duality. If you're new here, I just want to make it clear that non-duality isn't therapy. It's often mistaken for that, and if you're having psychological problems or difficulties in your life where you feel stuck or trapped, there are lots of modalities out there which can help. If you go to my website, I have a reference page, and on the reference page, I list all types of different, therapeutic modalities, whether that be talking therapy, bodywork, somatic therapy, TRE, energetic work, chakra work, tantra work, all types, breath work, pranayama breathing, yoga, all types of different therapeutic modalities which can help balance the body-mind mechanism and help you in your story, in your life, in your motivation, in what you want out of life, your direction, your relationships. And doing any of that work doesn't mean that you fail at non-duality in a way. It's just that non-duality is a very specific subject. And that subject is going beyond the story of you. Going beyond the story of you. So therapy is about fixing you. And non-duality is about going beyond you. Often to really hear non-duality, there has to be a certain stable personality, but that's not always the case. There's many examples of sages and saints and different teachers that have woken up, and they haven't, in this life that we know of, done these therapeutic modalities. But there's lots of instances where that is the case. So in my case, in this story, there was lots of balancing the personality, lots of meditation, body work, therapy, understanding the character, understanding the connection between the mind and the body, breath work, shiatsu, qigong, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. Yeah. But a mistake is that there is a you there that is going to heal itself and become free. And non-duality is speaking about going beyond the you. So it's not speaking about what you do or don't do. And that's the mistake. So on the other side, so if you have been into non-duality a long time, then the other mistaken belief is that you will do all these practices and you will become free. Who will become free? Who are you? So that's my disclaimer. So balance yourself. You can make your life better. There's so many different modalities out there now to help improve lives. So much information. So if you've got past that point and you're like, okay, well, I'm still going to listen to what this non-duality is, then we're going to dive into it. So the way that I do these talks for anyone that's new is that I do an introduction, and then I normally do question and answer after that. And the question and answer isn't about learning information from me. You could just chat to ChatGPT and find out what non-duality is. There's lots of videos out there about what non-duality is. So it's not about finding out the correct answer as such. Understanding things can help settle the mind. But actually what we're doing is we're doing like live exploration into self, which is non-verbal. It seemingly starts with being verbal, but then it's like a non-verbal phenomena where there is a deep going into who you are, which is not mental. So satsang, the word satsang is meeting in truth. So when I speak with someone, we're meeting in truth, and then another possibility happens. And you most probably can feel it. If you're sensitive to that, that when certain speakers that you resonate with speak about non-duality, a silence comes about. And that silence isn't through intellectually understanding. It's like the words are spoken and there's a resonance with them. And yeah, we're not speaking about ballet dancing, and we're not speaking about like flying to the moon or how to fix a computer. But there's something in the words which are dismantling ideas. And it's not, there is an element of it being mental, but it's also energetical. It's like a prepared or an eagerness or a readiness to meet in silence. And that's what the teacher of non-duality is meant to do. The teacher of non-duality isn't meant to set up on organizations, although that can happen. It's not meant to get lots of followers. They're not meant to be appreciated, although all these things can happen. It's not saying that they're bad or wrong. The non-duality teacher isn't in it for themselves. The non-duality teacher is simply there to express silence, and for those that are ready to hear, to listen. And it's not about the non-duality teacher or the student. It's about the silence, the stillness of what you are. Okay, so now we will start with the title of the talk. So the title of the talk is, I have to remind myself once again, my fish brain, Stop Thinking and End All Your Problems, How Non-Duality Can Save Lives. So, yeah, stop thinking. So I've told this story multiple times, and I was wondering to offer to do this again for my mum. So my mum runs a carers group. My mum is a carer. She has been for many years. For like 35 years, my goodness. Yeah, over 35 years. And she runs a carers group that's sort of associated with the NHS, but the NHS has sort of pulled away from it now, so it's now sort of more privately run. But it is connected to the NHS. They've just got funding from it. The NHS is the national healthcare system in the UK. And many years ago, when I just started speaking about non-duality, somehow they invited me to their group to give a talk. So every month they have like a guest speaker that comes in, or every other month. And they sometimes pay money for it, but they often get it, you know, like the person does it as a donation, as a gift, you know. And my friend at the time came with me, and I flopped. Like, I couldn't work out why they were all getting so angry with me. And I started with speaking because before I started speaking, they'd had a meeting and there was a lot of anger in the group. And so I started my talk saying, you know, that anger is a thought And most probably people that are listening to this, maybe you're on one side or the other. Maybe you're like, what do you mean anger is a thought? Anger is real. But then you might be on the other side where you know that anger is a thought. And this bombed. They got so annoyed with me. And they were like, I think they were aware that I was like the daughter of like the leader of the group. So they were like sensitive, but at the same time, they were like, how dare she? She doesn't understand what it's like to have strife in their life. And more and more rage came. So my friend interrupted and took over, and thank goodness they did. Because I had forgotten, because I got into this subject so young, that most people don't realize that anger is a thought. And this was such a good lesson for me, like a teaching for me. Like when you become a teacher in non-duality, like you learn. It's such a teacher. It's such a teaching. It really is a blessing. And this was one of these experiences, and it was so long ago, like 14, 13 years ago. And my friend jumped in, and he began to explain that we think. And I didn't know that I had to start off by explaining that we think and we see the world through our thoughts. To me, it was like so obvious. But as he started speaking, I vaguely remembered how when I was angry, when I was younger, I thought the anger was real. I didn't even know that there could be a question about it. So say I thought the other person did something and it was the other person's fault, for example, that anger was created. Like, so the other person was rude, and then of course there's anger because the other person's rude. And I didn't really see it as a thought or something that belonged to me as such. I saw it as like the way things were. Like that person did wrong, so of course there's anger, but it wasn't even like of course there was anger. And then I remember when I started at the Buddhist group, and then they started to train us to look at the mind, to look at the mind, to witness thoughts. And then you begin to realize that like something happens and then you have a thought, an interpretation about it, and then spontaneously an energetic reaction arises. So you have a thought, like someone does something, and then you're like, how dare they? They're insulting me. But you're not necessarily conscious of that thought. It's like very tiny. And then like an energy arises in the body. And through this meditation, this practice, I realized that the same scenarios could arise and I could have multiple different responses and projections dependent on the state of my mind. So my fixed view of the way I saw the world began to crumble, because as I paid attention to the mind, I realized how everything was a projection of the mind. And if in that moment I had no mind, then nothing was happening. And I mean, that's like such a profound realization. In the beginning, prior to that, I had these experiences in childhood where these love awakenings. So I had realized these sorts of things a little bit before, but just never to that extent. So in every moment, there is thoughts occurring. And they can be identified thoughts or non-identified thoughts. Ramesh Balsakar used to call them thinking thoughts or working thoughts, working mind thoughts. So thinking thoughts were identified thoughts and working mind thoughts were practical thoughts. But everything is thought. Everything. Everything. Even the way in which you see the wall, it takes the brain to interpret that wall, for it to look that way. A slug would experience the wall completely differently. So it means also there is no fixed reality out there. It's dependent on that which looks at it. So, Yeah, if a slug looks at it, then the wall is a totally different experience. Us as humans have such arrogance where we think our way of looking and seeing and experiencing the world is reality. But we only have 5 senses in the West. In the East, they begin to give us more senses. Like in the Buddhism, they gave us 6 senses, saying the thought was a sense as well. And then you can open up all these different dimensions and have more senses. But so why, if we only have, like in the West, they say we have 5 senses. If you had a body-mind mechanism that had more senses, then you can understand that the world would look completely different. If we took away smell and sight, then the world is very different. If we took away smell, sight, and sound, the world is very different. So whose reality is right? From a Western perspective, we have an arrogance of like a person who can see, smell, touch, hear, taste. That is the reality, and that is the right world. But actually, even in that, when we compare to other body-mind mechanisms, we discover that our sight, sound, touch, feeling, smell can really vary from body-mind mechanism to body-mind mechanism. And which one is the right one? Which one is the correct one? So anyway, back to the point of it is that everything is thought. So in the Eastern traditions, they often say everything is mind or everything is thought. So the whole world is created by thought. And in the Eastern traditions, and my teachers and would always say that is illusion. Everything that is thought-based, everything that appears, which is thought-based, is illusion. And then you get different types of illusion. You get practical thoughts, and then you get thoughts which are ego thoughts or identified thoughts. And the practical thoughts are more like at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, I have to wake up. Identified thoughts are at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, I have to wake up. It's completely unfair that I have to work. So that's like a judgment and an idea on top of the practical thought about you. So everything is thought-based. And you see those two thoughts, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and then the next one is, I have to wake up 6 a.m. and it's completely unfair that I have to do that. That is a thought about you, which is added on the top. And that gives an emotional flavor to that, of being victim to that. And that will be a negative experience. You could try and replace that thought by a positive one. I mean, that's part of healing often, is like changing our thoughts. That's part of the process often. So you'd have a completely different experience if you change that thought to, rather than I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and it's completely unfair that I have to wake up at 6 a.m. Why do I have to work? I shouldn't have to work. So you could replace that thought with, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm so excited to start another adventurous day. And those two different thoughts will give you a very different reality and a very different experience energetically. So when it says stop thinking and end all your problems, what it's implying is that when you look out of the mind, when you stop looking from the mind and stop looking from an identified perspective, which are these thoughts here, which judge these judgments about you and your experience onto things, then there can be this moving back to no mind. And what that means is there stops being this identification with thoughts. So when you're identified with thoughts, you believe that's who you are. You believe that you're the person that's got to get up at 6 a.m. and it's completely unfair that you have to work and that you hate work. So that's that's a thought about you. That's an identified thought about you. And those thoughts keep you involved in thinking and make it feel like consciousness and the big awareness are belonging to those thoughts, that you are a person that is conscious and exists and are those thoughts. So you are a conscious person that is waking up at 6 a.m. and hates their reality. But if there stops being these identified thoughts, these seeking thoughts, these illusion on top of illusion, this daydreaming within the dream, if there can be a breaking of that, then there can be a separation out from thinking and who you are as consciousness and the big awareness. So they can separate out, and then you experience life from a place of stillness. So your essence is still, is non-identified, non-located, and free. And it's still and present. And this is an energetic movement back to something that you've always been, but has seemingly been locked in with thinking, with this illusion of thought. And then this movement happens, and then there is this resting in the stillness as unidentified, uncontained, infinite awareness or big consciousness. And that is an energetic movement where you switch from being something in time, being a story in time, being thoughts in time, to being something bigger than that. That's not separated, that's not located. And then the body-mind mechanism appears in the consciousness, in the awareness, but it is an appearance that comes and goes and isn't the experiencer, isn't the reality. It's like a cloud passing through in the sky. And it's seen that you have never been a limitation. You have never been a body-mind mechanism. You have never been somebody that is moving in time. You have been something which is infinite by nature, which is timeless and spaceless. And it's always been here. This then changes the body-mind mechanism. It breaks seeking. And it begins through time to transform the thoughts and energies and behaviors of the body. So once there is a resting in what you are, the body goes through a transformation of expanding more and more to love. So it becomes more and more loving through time. So the body's responses are more in line with love. Rather than the opposite of what identification is and what the ego is, which is greed, selfishness, jealousy, ownership, hate, competition. So that is what the separation is. The separation is all about me and what I can get from me. When that is broken, then the body-mind mechanism, through time, or it can be instantly, these thoughts and these feelings and these karmas dissolve more and more, and the person becomes less and less about itself. And I mean, ultimately, there is nobody there, so it's totally not about itself. It's totally empty. You could say the characteristics of the body-mind mechanism revert back to being more themselves. So you become the character, the body becomes the character in which you were prior to identification. So you become more like you were in childhood when there was less identification. Yeah. So it's not exactly that you stop thinking and end all your problems. You stop identified thinking not by shutting it down and forcing yourself to not think, because that would be another thought, but by a switch from being the thoughts to this recognition and this energetic shift of that which isn't thoughts. And that is a massive thing. And that saves lives. It totally transforms society. Totally saves lives. My experience in therapy and from doing body work is that I could balance the body-mind mechanism to an extent, but there was still this core identification with me. So Lisa, when there was identification here, was the center of the world, and everything it was in relation to me, how it made me feel, what I could get out of it. And although the body-mind mechanisms, in a way, they're looking to not kill themselves, so they're looking to, feed themselves and shelter themselves. So you could say like the organism in a way is about survival, but it's different survival, the body trying to survive, as opposed to an identified body trying to survive. The identified body, dreams up all these fantasies of blame, guilt, shame, pride, expectation. If you go to Ramesh Balsekar and then my main teacher, Roger Castillo, they talk about these 5 forms of doership when you're identified. And they cause so much hell and so much problem and so much war. And that's blame, guilt, pride, shame, expectation. And expectation contains worry and anxiety. And you can find, if I say his name, Roger Castillo, I think they link him below, but also Ramesh Balsekar as well. Yeah, you can find them both online. Yeah, Roger was my main teacher, but we met, and our teacher was Ramesh Balsekar, but he was more Roger's teacher than mine. Like Roger was there before I started going to Ramesh. And then Ramesh passed me over to Roger by saying, if you listen to everything Roger says, then you will find peace. And I did that. So I got passed over. And then Ramesh's teacher was Nisargadatta Maharaj. So you'll see that I do book club studying Nisargadatta's book. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that was a long intro today. And so how can non-duality save lives? Well, yeah. So as I was saying, I found that in my 20s, although the therapies could change things and make me more healthy in a way, they really couldn't get to the root of it. And without getting to the root, it was always problems in myself, there was, yeah. It changed things, but not really changed things. Okay. Yeah, so if anyone in Zoom has questions, you're welcome to ask. If you want to join the Zoom group, then you can find out how to do that on my website under the live stream. We started advertising a couple of weeks ago the summer retreat next year, a 10-day silent retreat. Yeah, and it's almost booked out. So yeah, if you wanted to go on that, then yeah, you need to book now. Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll do the same as what I did last time, is I'll do last week or 2 weeks ago. I will do one person spoken question and then one person written. And you can write the question in Telegram. Or you can write the question in the Zoom meeting. Either way. Yes, I'll go spoken question, written question, spoken question. So for those that are more shy, you can write the question. And if when I'm reading it out, you feel confident, you could put your hand up so I could just at least look at you when I'm answering. Okay. So, have quite a few people in the Zoom today. I feel like that might be because it's better time for America, right? Because of the time change. It's not like 6 or 7 a.m. like it normally is. Okay. Yeah, so welcome all those Americans that are normally asleep. Yeah, Thomas, you can unmute yourself. Mm. Yeah, sorry, I blocked everyone unmuting themselves when I did the introduction. 1 second. Okay, so Thomas, you can unmute yourself. Yeah,
Can
thank
you
you.
hear me, Lisa?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi. Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a good time for me in Canada.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I make it a bit later because I understand that it's not so good for
Yeah.
Americans.
I was sitting here at 8 o'clock and then I saw your message. I did some exercise in the while. So I have no specific questions today, but can I just be with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like to say that like sentence, like to be with you. Like so for people that are new, like maybe they don't understand what that means or like what we're doing when we do that. And it's yeah, this
Maybe more correctly would be just be.
just be, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what these talks are about. And there's different ways in which you can listen to these talks. You can listen to them talks through the mind, or you can listen through the heart, and that's a resonance. And the resonant part can be done completely in silence, but it can also be done while listening to the talk. So you can sit in silence together, and it can be the same as if listening to someone talk about non-duality.
Yeah, sometimes in silence there's more, happens more than through talking.
Yeah.
Mm. What I sense is that the mind becomes still and the thoughts are like clouds in the sky and they just went by and I haven't to touch it.
Totally. That's it. It's like a non-activity. So all the teachers are asking you to do is a non-activity. It's not an activity. It's a sitting. So when teachers suggest remaining in the I am or questioning who are you, actually it's not an activity. It sounds like an activity, and at first maybe by the mind it becomes an activity, but in the end what it is it's not touching the mind. Identification happens by this sort of involvement in the mind, this like going in, getting lost in the daydream of the mind. And what the teacher's asking is just to stay still, which is your nature, which is effortless, but it just feels like effort sometimes. But it's actually effortless being yourself.
But in my case, there's still a split between the stillness that could be evoked by being with you and uh, the daily life and daily
Grind.
problems and
Yeah.
stuff, you know. That it's like two things, but I think it has to get
Become
together
one. Yeah. Yeah,
to
so
melt.
Ananda Mahima, like her way of teaching was that you have to bring God close in everything
Yeah.
you do. So like like in India they called it householders. When householders came to her, she was like, treat your home like an ashram. Treat your job like service, like I've forgotten what that's called in Sanskrit, but you treat anything you do like you're serving God. So I don't know, if you have to chop wood, I imagine in Canada they chop a lot of wood. If you have to chop wood for the fire,
No, we don't chop wood. We have gas.
you have gas.
Yeah, plenty of gas in
Okay.
BC.
If you had like if you did have a log fire, then
I, I'm chopping veggies.
yeah, you're chopping veggies. Yeah, okay, well then chopping veggies, it's like you're chopping veggies not for yourself, not for your partner, not for dinner, but you're chopping them for God. So it's like this attitude, constantly bringing God close to you in everything you do. And then eventually, so it begins at the beginning feeling like service to God, to an external God. But in the end, it's inseparable. Like you're cutting the vegetables and God are one and the same thing, but you start as if you're doing it for God. And it's this devotion, this love. Normally it's like the identified person, they cut vegetables and they're like, oh, when is it going to finish? Oh, like how many more? Oh, this peeler is so annoying, or this knife isn't sharp enough. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's really like getting out of that mentality and bringing God close in every moment. So it's like
Yeah.
as you cut the vegetables, as you peel the vegetables, you're doing it for God. And this is closer, in a way, you could say, to that than, all these identified thoughts. But that is still a separation. So in the end, that too falls away. But you use all these tricks in order to sort of stop the mind going out into all these complications of what it does. Like you can be cutting vegetables and then you can be feeling victim to your partner, or you can be feeling victim to society. Like, why should I cut vegetables? I've
Yeah,
worked all
yeah,
my,
yeah, yeah,
it can.
yeah. Mhm.
So it's like in everything you do, so you bring God close. So everything is a meditation, everything is a practice. And then it's as you begin to do it, you lose the idea of you practicing, because who would practice? But not in the beginning, but at points, you use that idea of practice. Okay, so right now, I'm going to do this job of going shopping as service, as gift, as devotion to God.
Mhm, mhm,
And then that kind of pulls you out of the thinking mind. And then then what can happen is then going right back to what you are. And then there's no separation between what you're doing and God.
yeah. Is it like a service to everything?
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
yourself in
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah, it's
But you
not
have a,
for me.
yeah,
It's for everything,
yeah,
for the universe, for
yeah.
uh,
Because in the end, that's how life works. Like you're chopping vegetables not because you've been told or because this happened or
mm,
that happened. You're doing it because of everything
yeah,
that's ever
yeah,
happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
no separation between anything.
Yeah,
Our fickle minds make up many false ideas which create so much
yeah,
suffering.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and my mind creates problems.
Yeah,
Yeah, because of wants, right?
yeah, seeking, yeah.
Because I want something and it doesn't,
Mm.
there's no solution to get there, and then it's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah, yeah,
it's like you're coming back to um, this place of the end of seeking. Like there's no you. So in the devotion to God, there's no you seeking something from doing the vegetables. You're doing it
yeah.
for God in that moment. You're not doing it to please somebody because of this or because of
Mhm.
that. You're doing it for that
Okay.
reason only. Yeah.
But I even can care for the best solution with a working mind,
Mm.
uh, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm not identified with
Yeah.
it and make a problem out
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. It's just practical thoughts.
Practical, yeah, yeah.
So then it comes down to, in the end, with the cutting the vegetables, like who cuts the vegetables? And there's nobody cutting vegetables, there's only cutting vegetables happening. You're the vegetables, you're the room, you're the sounds,
Mm,
and you're not doing it for anything. In the story, maybe you're doing it for dinner, but in the very moment, that's a story that's gone now. In the very moment of it, you're cutting it for nothing, which is God.
mm,
And that is everywhere in all things. It's total surrender, so there's nothing inside and nothing outside. There's nobody greedily trying to get things for itself. There is
mm.
only the divine everywhere, which is no thing and all things. So right now when we talk, who's talking? Who's looking at Lisa? Who's
Mm.
looking at Thomas? And there's nobody looking at Thomas. There is only looking which is not separate, or big awareness which is not separate. The awareness is Thomas's face. The awareness is Lisa's face. The awareness is the wall, the light, the space, apparent space, the
Yeah,
sounds.
it's beyond the faces, right? Beyond the faces.
Yeah,
There's something evoke, uh, like a, yeah, it's hard to put it in words, but it feels like a space, like
yeah.
a huge space, yeah. And this kind of being can be disturbed by thoughts, but it also can be disturbed by pain. If you have pain in the body, it can it can drag you back
Yeah.
to want
Somebody.
to do something about the pain, and then you are
Yeah.
in a big story, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is the only mentality change in that is that the beingness, the pure awareness, the beingness cannot be disturbed. That is here no matter what. There is aliveness, there is presence, and there is perception. But when pain arises, then aversion arises. So then there is an energy which begins to kick it away, and as it begins to refuse the pain, it then begins to go into a story, because how else can you refuse something? Only in a
Mm.
story. So all we have is this moment, is this instant. So then if pain arises, the only way in which you can refuse it is you can't run to the future, you can't run to the past. You can only go into a daydream of avoiding this moment and dreaming of the future and dreaming of the past. So pain arises, the seeker comes up and begins to push it away, and then it feels like you lose beingness and awareness, but you don't lose them, they're still there. But there's just this zooming in on the seeking energy, which then extrapolates into a timeline of you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
the
you begin to
seeking
think that
energy.
you've done something wrong to get the pain, that you're guilty, that
Mm.
why did you do this or why didn't you do that? And the way out of it, so it can be working mind, you can go and get pain relief, but the way out of it isn't actually through the pain relief, although I suggest people do go and get medical help. There's nothing wrong
Mm.
with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Mm.
it's the way out of it is by yourself, which is the pure awareness and the beingness. It's not through time. And that has to be seen more and more till there's absolute conviction that every problem is solved by being yourself, not by a story in time. The mind is convinced, though, that freedom comes from time, from past and future. So then it begins to daydream, like if I had done it this way, and why did I do that? And I need to tell this person that, and do this and do that. And it then hooks you, and there's nothing there that won't give you what you're looking for, that will only create more problems.
Mm. Mm. And nothing can be done, right? To limit the distraction by pain.
There's nobody there ultimately that can do anything, because the you is a movement in time. So the you
Yeah,
can't get back to the timelessness.
yeah.
But what is recommended to um, is to practice the I am practice, or practice investigation, who am I,
Okay.
where there is this returning back to the feeling of I am. So the first place in where identification comes from. So I am bad. I did something bad in order to experience pain. And it's saying
Mm.
just go back to the source before it goes, I am bad, the bad bit, just going back to the initial I am and staying close to the I am. Now that feels like a practice you're doing, but it's actually insanely intelligent, because actually, when there, it's a non activity. The activity is actually the thinking, the activity is actually the moving away from that. And then you've moved away from that, and then it feels like you move back to that. But that is not true. There isn't a you moving back to that.
So in I am is no activity.
In
Is that what?
it's seeming activity, because you've seemingly left it, you seemingly move back. But then when you're there, it's non activity,
Okay.
because that's home. That is
Mm.
your natural state.
Mm.
The activity, the lie, the doership comes from I am bad. So then you kind of like, you go into I am bad, and then you come back from I am bad to stillness. And then when in
Mm.
stillness, that's non activity. That's the
Mm.
stopping, that Papaji spoke about the Ganguji, where he said stop. And
Mm.
then it feels like activity, because then the mind goes, no, I'm bad. That feels
Mm.
like an activity. And in a way, it's like the practice of it is not touching the mind, not touching. So it's actually a non-activity. It just feels to you that it's an activity,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
is an illusion.
yeah.
So that's what's
Mm,
suggested. And then if it's too painful, then the wise thing to do would be do some body work, some breathing, some mantra,
mm,
singing,
mm,
some
mm,
other forms of TRE, somatic body
mm,
work, anything
mm,
which brings you back into the body and like pulls all that energy out of the thinking mind.
mm.
Yoga.
Mm.
Nice, thanks, Thomas. I'll give someone else some time now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. You again.
Okay, so I will take a written question now. So just if anyone's just joined, I'm taking a spoken question, then written question, spoken and written. And just so you know that this is being recorded and streamed to YouTube. So if you ask questions, your videos aren't being streamed to YouTube, but if you ask a question, then your voice is being streamed to YouTube. Okay. So Len says, I love the feeling of devotion that just arises. Bhakti, love, devotion, surrender. Nice. Okay. Let's see if there's questions in Telegram. Yeah, I think there was one from the other day. So Adele asked, who is the one who stops identifying with the mind? Just a thought that came up as a topic. And yeah, that's a really great question. So if Adele is in the Zoom room, she can put her hand up just so I can look at you when I answer the question. But if you're not, then I just answer it. So who is the one that stops identifying? So it is the mind. So the mind, so you go off into thoughts. So you start saying like, I am bad. Like Lisa suggests these practices and I don't do it. And then it evokes shame or it evokes the thought, I am bad. And then shame arises. And then who is it that notices that's happening? So there is the pure awareness that notices everything, that is this pure watching. And that notices everything without thought. It's just watching, it's just conscious of everything. And it's not even separate from anything. So it's not conscious of, it's not aware of, it just is everything. And when you're resting in that, there is a watching of everything, but not being of everything. But when thoughts of doership arise, then it means that most probably there is some form of seeking and some form of identity arising. So when it says I am bad, there can be this ego thought that arises, and it could be a working thought, and it could be an ego thought that says, that's not true. And then from saying that's not true, that can stop it in its track, and then there can be a returning to being, returning to presence. So it's interesting, isn't it? That it's the mind that breaks it. And when that break happens, then there is a resting in self. It's not that somebody comes back and rests in self, it's that the illusion of you gets broken and then there's resting of self. And there might still be identification there, so that self might be limited. It might be the awareness, the consciousness might feel like it's in here as opposed to all things, but there's less identification in that moment. So the coming back to self isn't someone. The leaving self is someone. And then the one that questions that is someone. It can be identity or it can be a working thought. It pops something, it pops a balloon, it pops an illusion, and then you go back to your natural place, which is the observer, which is presence, which is beingness. All these practices that are suggested, in non-duality are so wise. So Ramana Maharshi would say, that the problem with regular meditation is that as you're meditating on an object. So you're meditating on a mantra, you're meditating on a word, you're meditating on the breath. Whereas the meditating on the I am isn't meditating. Because who is the one meditating? It's like coming back to the source, to the precipice. And this is why Ramana would say, it's the ultimate meditation, it's the true meditation. I mean, all teachers claim that. I wouldn't claim that because I'm nothing and nobody, and what do I know? I'm just speaking. But luckily, all these teachers before said it. And Ramana, I noticed that when he said it, he also claims it from other teachers as well. He doesn't say it as if he's saying it. He's like, the sages say, the scriptures say. But it's not that it's not truth, because that's what happened here. That's what happened here. Okay. Yeah, Lean, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Lisa. So
Hey.
hi. Thank you so much for the session.
Yeah, pleasure. You're a little bit quiet, Lean, but maybe everyone can hear you.
If I put it here, is it a bit better? If
Yeah,
I put it closer, is it better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
My sound anyhow is not so strong. Yeah, in fact, I just wanted to share something that was related also to things you were talking about. About like some time ago, in a satsang, I asked you about shadow work, and then you said it's like if you don't have any stories anymore about what's coming up, like if you don't say, "Oh, you're an idiot," or you said something like this, like not to have the stories, that you're just feeling it directly, and then I don't know what I said. I think I said something like, "Ah, yeah, that's how I experience it." Because like I had seen that before, that it's like it makes no sense to judge or blame or shame, but then I suddenly saw recently that I was still blaming, um, and like some people that I know, and and I could suddenly see how the mind sees this as a kind of protection, but in fact that it was the opposite, that this like blame is just like keeping the illusion as if it's real. And like, for example, I saw that I was like still somehow blaming my father, which is like a relation that always has been very, like, probably the most difficult relation. And then because I saw it, it suddenly fell away. And I don't know if it fell away, but well, I don't know, it wasn't there. And it was so interesting to see that, because like it was just like suddenly, yeah, like I think it was the first time that the contact with my father was somehow easy, and uh, or easier, and that, yeah, there was just like in that contact, but also after that, like there are moments that I just saw how innocent everyone is. Uh, like not all the time, but like I suddenly see like there's not really someone like doing something or having some kind of, yeah, individual will or intention. It's just like these bodies talking. It's not really someone. I mean, and I know, like I saw that somehow before maybe, but it's like suddenly it was like, oh, I don't know, like in fact it's difficult to explain it clearly, but it really touched me deeply to see this innocence, to see that, to see also really that like the blame or judgment really creates the illusion, but it's not there. Like there is no one, like not myself and not anyone else to blame for anything.
Mm.
um and yeah, it's just, I just wanted to share that. It was also like, I understood, I'm not sure that you're also talking about this, and um
Yeah.
it's like the seeming protection is the ego.
Yeah.
Oh, it's suddenly so clear.
Yeah. And it's really amazing how this gets undone, because once you begin to get into this subject, then everything that challenges you, so in the past, problems or suffering, now everything that challenges you is the opportunity to see the shadow, an opportunity to see illusion. So these thoughts can hide so deeply in the body that you don't feel them.
Mm,
So then the external world pokes you, and then they come up through being poked, and you see illusions that are there. And it's almost like once they come into consciousness, then you can't be fooled by them anymore. Like when they're hiding, that's when they're the shadow, when they hide inside you. Then when you're
mm,
challenged, they come up and then they're seen for what they are. And you notice, okay, there was some form of blame there.
mm,
And it's so subtle, it might have just been a slight dislike or a slight like turning away in their presence or something. But then when they push you or something, or when something happens, then it's seen in a bigger way. And then there's the opportunity to say, that is not true, to allow it to appear without hooking into it, without believing it that the other person is guilty. And yeah, it's such a profound thing to really see in such a deep way, and it gets deeper and deeper, that there is no one or nothing to blame, that nobody is guilty. And that can seemingly get deeper over time, and it's not really deeper. Um, it's just that more layers of not truth get removed, and then the feeling is that it's seen deeper. And it's the ultimate forgiveness. You cannot truly forgive someone as an activity. You can only truly forgive someone as a removal. An activity is a doing that you have to hold on to. This is a letting go of an idea that says the other is guilty, that I am victim and the other is guilty. It doesn't mean you don't maintain boundaries, doesn't mean that you don't cut them off if they've done something. It's not talking about action, it's an internal way of being.
mm. Yeah, like it can still be that if someone goes too far, you take a step back, or just go away. But then it's not without any. Then it's without any blame or judgment.
Or separation from them. Like their actions are no different from your actions. And this is true compassion as well. Like as you go more and more deeply into this, and again, remember I say you go deeply, but actually it's a removal of you, and then there's like a deepening of it, but it's hard with language to always say it in that way. So as it's experienced more deeply, then your actions and their actions are the same, and this is where compassion really comes in. Compassion isn't a plus, compassion isn't a feeling to me. Or from here, it's not a feeling, it's not a way of being. It's when that there's no barriers between you. So their actions, their feelings, their experiences are no different than your own. You and them are a phenomena that is arising inside the dream. And what you truly are is awareness that's watching. You just have a closer view of lean, but it doesn't mean that lean is actually you. So that, and this is true compassion when it's seen energetically from that perspective. And it's not a seeing like lean's seeing it or lean's experiencing it. It's that there's no difference. There's no boundary. And then for some people, what begins to happen, and I don't know if this happens for everyone, but it happens for some, is that when you get out of the way, then whoever's there, you experience them in a way as deeply as you experience the character lean, including emotions, feelings, sensations, and the compassion comes from deeply knowing them as yourself. You know, there's nobody there which is blocking them out, which is holding them out. Then what happens is you most probably then, the more free you become, naturally begin to be a teacher because, you know, you do for the other what you did for yourself seemingly. You know, you then begin to point out to the other one the illusion because not because you as Lean are being compassionate, but because that's a natural way of things when the mind begins to dismantle. So you naturally are doing not true to Lean. So then you naturally go to the other, not true, that's not true, you know, to the other. And that is the compassion. That is the teacher. The teacher isn't doing it for another person. The teacher is doing it for themselves, but not themselves as Lean, themselves as life.
And that just happens like spontaneously.
Yeah.
Just very touching.
Yeah, but it's a different way of being because it's not Lean doing it in order to make herself feel better. You know, it's doing it like life is doing it. Lean is out of the way, and then life is doing exactly what happened to Lean. Not true, not true, not true. There might be the effect of the body mind, Lean's body mind might feel better from it, but it's not for Lean because there's no Lean there. It's so deep, this subject. You know, it can sound maybe a bit fickle, you know, in the sense of just keep questioning who are you in some ways. Well, not fickle, but like when you've done it, when you've heard the concepts after a while, you're like, okay, where else does this go? You know, there's only a certain amount of concepts to this. But when you really invest in it, these concepts go so deep. There's so many layers that are undone. And it's not that you need to learn more concepts in order to go deeper. It's that these very not simple concepts, but these same concepts which are represented again and again in satsang, just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then they even lose being concepts. They even lose that. You know, they become energy, and then they become yourself. Thanks, Lee.
Jeez.
Yes, this is Larry. So, yeah, if you're hearing the talk today, Larry, you could put your hand up so I can look at you while I answer it. A year ago, I talked to an enlightened woman online. She told me to quit meditating and just wait for my dark night. Instead, I started meditating more. I don't think I'll ever become enlightened, but I do like the emotional balance that I've gotten from meditation. She did make me question a few things, though. Forgive me for typing, my computer has no camera. Yeah, no problem. So I don't think I'll ever become enlightened, you say. So firstly, who is this you that you think will or won't become enlightened? Like, you've never been the Larry character. You've always been the beingness, the presence, and that pure awareness. You've never been the Larry character. Larry has been appearing and disappearing in front of the screen of you. So that's one thing. And then another thing is in terms of thoughts. So in terms of thoughts of Larry, like, yeah, don't let these thoughts in. I will or won't come enlightened. Like, why are you even contemplating that? Like, you don't even need to let them in. And what that means is not blocking them out. It's just they appear and disappear, but there's nothing which attaches to it. Like, that's illusion, those thoughts, that I will or won't get enlightened. It's, it's ideas. It's why is the mind saying that? Yeah. And then the next thing about meditation is that, I really feel that in the end, you have to follow. What needs to be followed is the resonance. So if the resonance is to meditate, like meditate. If the resonance is to listen to particular teachers, do that. To have one-to-ones, do that. So if she says that and it doesn't resonate, then that doesn't mean that she's right because she's what you call enlightened. It's phenomena happening and you don't know why that was said energetically. So, if meditation resonates and if it's feeling good for the body, mind mechanism, then carry on doing that. But this deep knowing that it's not you doing it, even though I'm saying carry on doing it, it's not you doing it. Like, who is the one doing it? And I used to love it how Roger put it, and I'm sure he still puts it like this, that, it sounds like what I'm saying is a prescription, but it's a description of something that may or may not happen. It's never a prescription. Yeah. And the reason it's a description of something that may or may not happen, because if life wants meditation, then that's what will appear. If it doesn't, then that's what won't appear. It's really coming back to the simplicity of thinking. Really, like, all these complex thoughts are not needed. They're needed for building a computer. They're needed for working out how to get water to everybody. They're not needed for thinking about you. So it's like, just don't engage. That's netty, not this, not that. The who am I or the resting in I am is netty in a way. It's not engaging in that. You let it pass through, but you're not hooking in. You're not getting your hooks out and being like, oh yes, I shouldn't be meditating, or I should, or I will or won't get enlightened. Okay, so I will speak with Graham next, but I just need to visit the ladies' room. Yeah. Okay, so Graham, yeah, you can unmute yourself. I just have to check the settings because I just got up. Yeah, if you could just speak, Graham, that would be helpful.
Hello.
1 second, sorry, I just moved. Yeah, if you could just say something again.
Hello?
Yeah, that's good. I just had to check that you were going into I've forgotten what that thing's called. The interface? I don't know what that is. Okay. So
Yeah, really nervous as always.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, I had a question and I think it was answered with the first few interactions. You know, it's yeah, I feel like I find myself being really open sometimes and then interacting with certain people at work and then kind of collapsing into this, like I'll get this dent, like this pressure in the head and this pain in my chest, and like it's like an overwhelm of whatever, like I'm assuming their energy is, and then um yeah, and it just seems to take a long time. Like I would have to sit for like at least half an hour to try to feel better, you know, and it's not always possible to do
Mm.
that. As I'm saying this, it feels like a story kind of, but yeah, this is something that's happened a few times.
Yeah, it is a story in the end, like everything is a story.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we can't like engage in it to an extent, but we realize that in the end, like every word, everything we utter, every appearance is illusion. In the end, what we are is presence. But in that story, um, what you have to do is you have to treat them like you treat yourself. So you know how you you're seeing that your mind and your thoughts and your feelings aren't true. You also have to do that with them. I know it feels unfair. Like I have to now do it for them, and this is true compassion when there's no separation between you and them. So you have to, in the moment, notice their storytelling, notice their illusions, notice their feelings. And it comes in as feelings, the less and less that you are there, the more that you'll feel their feelings. You know, the you is blocking them out, the you is holding them at bay. So then you have to do what you do for yourself. And this is true compassion because you're not doing it for yourself as such, you're doing it because life doesn't want to suffer. So then when they're speaking, you have to not believe in them. When they're having their emotional responses, you have to not believe in them, not hook into it at all. What's happening energetically is this hook's happening. It's tough. Happens here too, you know. Sometimes I'm with people and then there's just going too far into them. And then suddenly you become that energy. So you have to notice it and see it as illusion. And, you know, be vigilant. But then at the same time, knowing there's nobody that's vigilant, like what you're doing is that you're remaining as yourself. You're not getting involved in any illusion. No illusion is misting the eyes. You know, and then through time, there will naturally be less and less going in that. Doesn't mean their energies won't be painful, but then if you become a teacher, you'll become really astute at being able to point out their illusions, but there'll be less and less going into that and less the energies going on you. You know, in Hinduism, you know, they have all these rules in Hinduism and these castes, and the caste has turned out to be a very cruel system. But in the beginning, I understand why it maybe began, but the ego always grabs hold of things and makes it for themselves, you know, and then it turns into cruelty and unkindness and hatred. But in the beginning, you know, when somebody was in the Brahmin caste, you know, they have all these rules and rituals to and ways of interacting with people. And the reason that they do that is because they recognize that by touch, by interacting, you could pick up somebody's energy. And if you're not still enough in self, then you get into a hell. And so because these people are the Brahmins are the spiritual ones of that society, they're meant, I mean, I might be getting this really wrong, so if there's an Indian person in the audience, please correct me, but this is my sense on it. Like, is, that they, when they were opening and expanding to this message, they kept themselves quite reclusive, not because that was the way to be, but because they couldn't handle not getting involved in the other person's story. When somebody is absolutely in self, then they can interact with the world and the world doesn't overwhelm them. But when somebody's absolutely in self, it's not that quite true. It's maybe when there's a certain amount of time where there's being conviction in self, then the body can allow those energies to pass through. And then there can be a going anywhere in society. But it's like when you've had this awakening initially, or this big openings initially, it can be hard, this letting the energies go through, like your own, like their own energy. So there is this process where the body goes through. So when I've read about it, that it's like there can be some sages that wake up and then they never can do that, so they go off and live in forests. So it's not as clear cut as I say, but there is these stages where you go through, where often there is this renunciation of the world. I'm not suggesting that you should do that, because I know that the more that you rest in self, then there will be freedom. And if you have strength, you will see all these challenges as a way to go deeper in self. And all of this in the end can be a story, so can be seen as a story and chucked out. But I'm just trying to give you like a perspective on it, that this is part of the process, and it's a painful part of the process. And your job is to not true, and not get involved in their energies. And then whether or not you end up then eventually becoming more away from people or in with people, that's parcel of it. But this is I don't know everything in detail of what happens in the Brahmin caste, but I get a sense of that part of it is to do with this energy picking up. So they have this thing about not touching, not eating the same food of people, not speaking when eating, all these different things. And I understand it's about energy transference. But then they go on to say that, that there can be this time where you can be in any circumstances and nothing touches. But I do also know that there were sages that just then went and lived in the forest and never interacted with people again. So it's not all clear cut. It's not as straightforward as you think, as I make it sound.
It's really helpful. Yeah, I think it's been causing a lot of suffering because, like you said, I want to live like a sage in the forest or a Brahmin, and it's like I'm just like I don't like, the mind really doesn't like my current life circumstance, and it's like there's a lot of resistance to having to interact with people that feel like poison to my system sometimes,
But if you're there, it's your most perfect path. That is your ashram, that is your forest. If you're there, like that's what this bundle of energy has to integrate. So you must always look at everything as this opportunity for freedom. So if your life is to live in society and not live a Brahmin life, I'm just saying that I understand where the elements of Brahmanism comes from. I don't know how you say that, or the caste or the rules. And then it turned into this horrific thing that's really unpleasant because the ego got involved. But I understood the roots of where it came from. But also if you go to the sutras and you go to what many sages say, if that is the life, not to live as a renunciant, then peace and freedom can be found there. So everything which you describe as poison, you've got to unsee it as poison. You've got to see it as gift. It's not something which is holding you back. It's something which is exposing not truths. So everything has got to be seen in that manner. It is a gift. It is an opportunity. You know, even when you're in really dense energy, that is what this body mind has to integrate. This is your path. You know, this fantasy of another path or different path is illusion.
Yeah.
If this is what you woke up in, this is your journey.
Yeah, it can't be any different than this. I'm not choosing it for it to be like this. This is the way it is.
Yeah. So then it's an opportunity. So when you're with people, it's deeply not true, not true, not true, not true. Deeply. Not just for Graham's energies, but for their energies too, because their energies are your energies. There's no separation. Their poisons are your poisons, not as Graham, but as life, and that is who you are.
Yeah.
And this is life waking up, not Graham waking up.
Yeah. And Graham has his own fair share of of poisonous energies inside here too. You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Sometimes it can be like this kind of judgment of me being better than them, you know, or yeah, but there's a lot in here too that's really dense. But yeah, I really see what you're saying. It's all the same thing. It's none of it is me.
Mm. You know, so you transform it by seeing them as the divine. You transform it as their energies, as the divine. This is the mirror of what you are, as the divine. This is what's appearing. Even if it's in a hell realm, you make it a heaven realm by seeing them as divine.
Mm. Yeah.
And you see them as divine, not as an activity, as rooted in self. So the practice of the I am, which isn't really a practice. So you're deeply rooted in self. Not true, not true. This, what is truth.
So, not to avoid anyone either, but yeah.
But it's intense, you know, so it's like when you see your family members, it's like you've got to stay as yourself. So Graham has not got to perform to be something through seeking to push away their energies, to calm their energies. So you got to remain as self for you, and then also for them, in the sense of when their energies come into. So you also mustn't buy in, Graham, you know, trying to please them, trying to make them feel better. There's stillness in both realms, which are one realm in the end. It's intense. I mean, that's why I understand in some traditions, you know, there was this like removal, you know, like this, because it's intense, but it's possible.
Mm. Yeah.
No, thanks, Graham.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so see the written. Yes, I'm most really not going to make everybody's question. Yeah, because we're getting towards the end of the talk. So Peter says, but even in acceptance of them doesn't mean you don't have to sit in those energies. You can move away from them, set boundaries. For me, those lessons always seem to be about setting boundaries. Yeah, totally. They can be setting boundaries. But when you can't move away from them, then it's total surrender, in that. But yeah, totally. You can, yeah, I'm totally for setting boundaries and saying no. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Peter. It's hard to teach this because you're teaching absolute surrender, but also at the same time, it's not saying that you have to stay with somebody that's really, unconscious and really in difficulties. But if you cannot leave that, if you cannot set a boundary, if it's your work or something and you have to go into that every day, then it's total surrender to that. Mitch, yes, boundaries are excellent, but come not from fear avoidance, but from silent wisdom. Very compelling to see other people as separate and doing something to you. Even if your body is picking up energies from other body-mind minds, any sensing reactivity to that is still happening in you. Truly, there are no others. Oh, thanks, Mitch. Okay, Ramona, you can unmute yourself. Hey.
Hey,
Hey,
I'm also
Ramona.
going to drop my hand. Hello. It seems like, wait a minute, can you say something again?
Hello, Ramona.
I'm not sure if you're on my headphone or just on my computer. That I would find out now. No, I think you're on my headphones. Sometimes that happens that I'm watching the screen with the headphone, and then all the time it was just through the computer. Awareness, someone says. I have a silly question. I think it's a silly question, but also for me, well, it doesn't matter. I wanted to ask if you wanted to speak around what is memory, and then preferably not conceptual, but to take like a shared memory, because then some resistance comes. It's like, so, can you do that?
Like, what do you mean by shared memory? Like us being
Like,
in Amsterdam together or something?
yeah, like yeah, something like that. Something that I think your memory is worse than mine. So I let you pick one.
Stroking Baba. Can we not say the name of the place or where that is? Stroking Baba.
Yes.
We just say
Yes.
stroking Baba.
Yes. Stroking Baba. Okay. Yes, I have to
His
remember now.
ginger hair and his plumpy body and his like triple chin
Yes.
in front of the fireplace.
Yes, and I was using Baba as a pillow.
Yes.
And
A very big pillow.
yes, very big pillow. And well, this is enough, I think.
Yeah.
Fireplace, Baba. I just have to really not say the place. That is, yeah. But
To really not say the place, I know. Comes hard,
that's
eh?
hard. But so you were there and I were there, and we are sharing this memory. And you say yes, and I say yes. And then there's that the memory is a thought. It's an appearance.
So in your dream at night, so say in your dream at night, you have a friend in your dream and you both have a shared memory. Whose memory is it? So you're in your dream, you're Ramona and your friend is called Lisa. You have a shared memory. Whose memory is it in that dream? Ramona's or Lisa's in your dream at night?
Wait. So I'm in my dream, and this is the same thing.
Yeah,
Of
it's the
course it
same.
is. So I'm dreaming about Baba and you on the couch and in the fireplace, and there's you. And in the dream, I'm even speaking to you about, do you remember? And you say yes, and I say yes. And then you ask whose memory? Yeah, it's me like a I was trying to do that very seriously. And then you ask whose memory is it? Ah! Um, yeah, it's the dream's dream. Like
Yeah,
it's no one's dream.
yeah, yeah.
Ah!
It's the same, right?
Ah! But I cannot because okay, yes, I'm serious.
Yeah. So, so I mean, what
The-
you could have answered is it's Ramona who was in bed's memory. You could say that. So it's the dreamer
yes,
of the dream's memory, and in this reality, the dreamer of the dream is God, is the
the
divine.
dreamer, the dreamer of the dream sounds very complicated suddenly. That sounds like I have to figure a puzzle, a
Yeah,
mathematical
but
puzzle out.
if you work it, if you think of it like in terms of the metaphor, it's Mona who's in bed dreaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Memory. She's
Mm-hmm.
creating the whole dream. So if you swap
Mm-hmm.
Ramona with God, then you've got the same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I was there the first time. The Ramona in bed doesn't, but I get it. Like it's a step in between, right? Sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
to go to the
yeah.
concrete and then, but so it's God's dream or no one's dream or it's um and then I think what I want to share is that resonates, but there's also like the resistance comes that I want to tell you like but you were there and I was, so yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to test that, or I wanted to
Yeah.
like um because I've been listening to this for ages, and suddenly there was a teacher, and there was a memory, a shared memory, and she just said, "Yeah, that never happened," and it was like, and yeah, I felt like I've been listening to this for so long, but I've never heard a word or something, or it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's true from the absolute perspective. You've never heard any of it. There's no, it's all imagination now. So this is the first time you're hearing it.
yeah. It's again like, but how? I I just don't get it. I don't I don't get it. It's like yes, and then but how can you know my name, or how can I know, or how can we both have seen Baba, or it? I think the fact it's a shared memory makes it more real.
Yeah, in our imaginations. But it's all imagination.
Yeah.
All imagination.
So it's shared imagination.
Not even really
Mm,
shared. One,
no. Yeah. I think it's God's memory is that
yeah.
is then I'm gonna scream again. Yeah. Mm. that makes my heart like. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks, Ramona. Yeah, so I think that's enough of the question answers today. So Isabel and Paul, yeah. Next time. What are you sorry for, Ramona? You had nothing to be sorry for. Yeah. So if you're in the Zoom meeting, you're welcome to stay. And what I like to do at the end of the Zoom meeting when I have time, I didn't have time last time, but just to go around and acknowledge everyone that's in the meeting. So you're also welcome to leave. It doesn't offend me if you just leave as well. Sometimes people write me apology messages for leaving, but it's okay as well. Yeah, thank you for all the hearts. That's really sweet. Like little heart balloons going off. Okay. Oh, a big. Oh, wow. What is that one? Oh, there's a massive one come up. Oh, yeah, sweet. Yeah. Yeah, for the two people on YouTube, you can't see this, but we're just having like a heart love party fest here in Zoom. Explosion. Yeah. Okay, so I just say goodbye to everyone on YouTube. If you want to join the Zoom meetings and be able to ask questions, then you can find out how to do that on my website under live stream. Yeah, and to everybody in YouTube, where are you? There you are. Yeah, thank you for joining. I so appreciate sharing with you and really respect everybody's commitment to truth, you know, to keep coming back to this subject again and again and again and be, yeah, prepared to like delve in and investigate who you are. There's not many people in this apparent dream that are willing to do that. Yeah. And it really like, yeah, I mean, that's a complex subject, but it seems like collectively that's really needed in this stream at the moment. Yeah. Yes, I really wish you lots of love and yeah, really wish you everything. Not one or two or three things, but every God bless thing. Yeah. See you next Sunday.